Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we have the first post-conviction poll for the 2024 presidential election. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below. And so Donald Trump right now leads by a percentage point in a head-to-head aggregate with undecideds, 2 points with leaners, and with all third-party candidates included, he is ahead by 2 percentage points, which is an improvement from the previous month. He gains a point with the regular matchup. He gains 2 points in the third party, aggregate. So Biden didn't gain anything or lose. RFK didn't lose. Trump is the only one who gained. And this is a poll that was taken right after the conviction. The full, because they also have to you see, May 30th to the 31st. So this is like the full the first full post-conviction poll, and Trump has already gained with one of the polling aggregates that's already included in RCP. And Trump was able to raise over $52 million, which is more than what Biden raised in all of April. And this is a very bad sign for the incumbent president. We see polling data here pretty much shows that what's quite interesting is that even though people feel like the trial was fair, the question here is, do you think the prosecutions of Donald Trump are fair and unbiased, or are they politically motivated? And you see that 51% of the people who were polled think it's politically motivated, and 49% think it's fair and unbiased. We could see most Republicans think that. Even a large percentage of Democrats actually think that. There are more Democrats that think it's politically motivated than Republicans who think it's fair and unbiased. And with independents, it's basically right smack dab in the middle. But what's actually damaging Trump here is not or damaging Biden is not the perception of independents in this poll, but more so the Democrats that think that this is politically motivated. So this is definitely not going to help Biden with the whole democracy crowd. That's definitely not going to help him whatsoever. And so if we go here, we'll see, do you think that Donald Trump's trial was fair or not? Most people agree. Same thing with the juror, same thing with the judge. People feel like they understand the sentence, but people still think that the trial was politically motivated, 51 to 49, and his polling lead is 51 to 49%. Look at this, and here's another question that was pretty interesting. Do you think Donald Trump's trials in heavy Democratic jurisdictions like New York City or Atlanta, Georgia, should be moved to a new location to avoid real or perceived bias? And 54% of the respondents said that it should have been moved to avoid real perceived bias. 46% said that it was fine to do it in those areas. So clearly, even though people like a majority thinks that the trial is fair, there's still a large majority that don't think it was fair. And Donald Trump doesn't need to win the popular vote to win the presidential election. And so what's actually quite interesting, also, most people believe that he's actually going to end up getting a max sentence of 4 years in prison, which is also pretty interesting. And if you look at this, Donald Trump actually is more likely, 30% of voters are more likely to vote for Trump after the verdict. Less likely is 27%, 44% no impact on my vote. So Trump basically gets a net positive from this, which is pretty interesting. And if we look here, we can see that a convicted sex assaulter, label is 20 points worse than even a convicted felon label, which is very, very interesting. And we can see here's the nature of the sample. It was a pretty quick sample because they were probably trying to get a pullout as soon as possible. But clearly, Donald Trump did not, suffer a major loss from this poll. He actually gained since the last poll. And right now, Donald Trump, according to my election model, is projected to win by a pretty large amount in the electoral college. He's actually projected to get around 345 electoral college votes as of right now due to his massive lead in polling data. And usually polling aggregates underestimate him, and my model seems to pick up on that because it sees the results, it sees the swings in the trends, it sees the national environment. And even though the polling lead is 2.2%, the final popular vote ends up being 6.1. So clearly the model sees that there is going to be somewhat of a polling error occur, in the 2024 election. In 2020, Biden led the aggregate by around 7 or 8 points, and he only ended up winning by 4.5 points in the popular vote. And I wouldn't expect Donald Trump to be overestimated in polling data this time, considering that a lot of his base doesn't tend to get polled accurately by mainstream pundits. And so right now, my election model has Donald Trump winning this election fairly easily. I'm going to fill out all these safe Republican states, which include Iowa, Ohio, Florida, and Texas in this scenario. California is still safe, but it's getting close, 17 points. We even see a state like Hawaii is actually under the safe category in the scenario. It's a 13.7 percentage point victory for Biden. We see DC, Maryland, Massachusetts, Vermont are safe. Maine's first congressional district right now is just above a 16-point victory for the incumbent president, which is lower than the 23-point win from the 2020 election. Nebraska is first in the at-large vote, goes safe, including Alaska, as well as Maine second. So these are all of the states left blank are the states that are not safe. And Washington, Oregon, these are states that typically have very big Democratic history. 19-point victory in Washington, 16 points in Oregon. But we see, according to my election model, he's ahead by 9 in Washington and by 7 in the previous election. Oregon and Washington are likely Democratic states now. In this scenario, we see Colorado is only a 5-point win. Illinois is only a 5-point win. Now, what's crazy about Illinois is that this is a state that has not voted, likely Democrat since the 2004 presidential election. It's been quite a long time since this has actually occurred, and has voted safe blue the past 4 cycles. And this will probably be the first time it votes under 10 points in quite a long time. The last time we can see that it voted under 10 points for the Democratic candidate was actually back in 1988, when Bush actually won it by 2 percentage points. After that, no Democrat has won it by under 10 points since then. And so we are seeing a massive shift in a state like Illinois. Donald Trump has been gaining with young voters, African American voters, and Hispanic voters, which are big coalitions of the Democrat Party. And that's clearly affecting Biden's performance in my model. As of right now, the state of Connecticut is an 11-point victory for Biden. Delaware is only 8 points, which would be a huge shift. That'd be basically an 11-point shift to the right in Delaware. That'd be huge for the former president. We can see that Rhode Island is a 10-point victory for him in this electoral college scenario. We see a state like New Jersey actually falls right below the 5-point margin, which is very fascinating, considering that New Jersey is typically a very Democrat state. The last time New Jersey voted Republican was back in 1988, when Bush won it by 13 points, and then it slowly basically started trending to the left, and has not voted, likely Democrat since 2016, and voted by 15.9% for Biden in 2020. So this would be a huge shift to the right in the state. Now, polling does show it competitive. However, the polling error is not as bad here as in other states like the Rust Belt, in Florida. And so I don't really see Biden losing New Jersey, but it possibly could get within 5. It definitely is possible. Now, what's quite interesting is that you notice even a state like New York is an 11-point victory for Biden. That's a huge decrease from the 23-point victory in 2020. And that would be a huge shift to the right. We'd see New York City more than likely gain for Donald Trump. That's probably where he would get most of his gains to make that, Biden, victory possible. Instead of losing by 23, only loses by 11 percentage points. So this would be a huge shift to the right as well. And we can see that all of these states that have been filled in, including New Jersey, were all safe in the previous election except for Colorado. So you're seeing a huge national shift in the environment as of right now. For the likely Republican states, we have Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and Nebraska's second congressional district, which puts Trump at 313 electoral votes. We see those states that were decided by under 3 points for the incumbent president last time around are all basically likely Republican states. Even Nebraska's second, kind of trends ridiculously to the right in the scenario. It goes from 6.6 Biden and goes all the way to, for the next state we have here is the state of New Mexico. We could see it's a 1.4 percentage point victory for Donald Trump. This would be a huge shift from the 2020 presidential election. We can see right here, that in 2020 Biden won it by 10.8 percentage points as of this result. And that would be a huge shift towards Donald Trump, presumably with Hispanic voters. That would definitely be shifting the state to the right this presidential election. And we could see a state like even Minnesota is basically a lean margin of victory. It's actually a 2.2 percentage point win for Trump. And this is actually quite funny because in, the 2020, cycle, the polling error there was around a 2.1 percentage point polling miss. And a lot of the polling aggregates have Minnesota ahead for Biden, or basically, tilting towards Trump, depending on what aggregate you look at. And so that puts the state of Minnesota, if the same polling error occurs, you could see a 1 or 2 point victory for Donald Trump in Minnesota. In Virginia, Biden only leads there by a point. Right now, Donald Trump is projected to win there by around 0.3 percentage points, which puts him past 340 electoral votes. This would be a humongous victory for Trump. He lost it by 10.1 percentage points in the last election. And if he were to be able to pick up Virginia, that would be a huge, stunning flip for the former president. We would see a huge shift to the right in the state of Virginia, presumably with Hispanic voters here, African American voters, and even to an extent, the Israel-Hamas conflict would affect the Muslim and Jewish populations in a place like Virginia, Minnesota, New York. Like it would definitely be affecting results in even Michigan. Like you're going to see in the Northeast, a lot of the results will be affected due to that conflict. And even a state like New Hampshire is a 1.7 percentage point victory for Trump. He's winning the state by almost 2 points this time around, which would be a huge victory for him. Now, clearly, the state has trended to the left, ever since, even 2020, because if we were to shift the popular vote exactly by 7.4 percentage points, Trump would only be winning it by around 3 to win New Hampshire. But now he has to win it by about, 4.5 to even win New Hampshire. So you clearly see that the state has trended, to the left a little bit. However, Donald Trump still wins it in this scenario. Now, Maine at large is the final state we have not filled in. He's winning it by around 0.7 percentage points in this scenario. And what's quite interesting is that we see that Maine at large right now is currently a tilt margin for Biden, which in the last election, it was a 9 point victory for Biden. And what's pretty funny about it is that the popular vote was a 4.5 point victory and he won it by 9. And now Trump's winning it by 6 and it's tilt. So clearly Maine at large trends around, 2 to 3 points to the left. But Donald Trump is performing so well on the national level that he's barely going to end up losing the state of Maine at large. The white vote, especially the suburban voters, are definitely going to be trending to the left, which keeps states like Virginia, close. It keeps states like New Jersey kind of competitive. Maine at large keeps Colorado, in that likely Democrat column. So you are going to see a trend with the white suburban vote and richer voters definitely shifting or at least trending a little bit to the left. And you're going to see African American, Hispanic voters, and young voters trend to the right, which may be a bad warning sign for Democrats in 2028. And so if you guys did enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure to go ahead and follow the Twitter and join the Discord server in the description down below. And I will see you guys very, very soon.